Today's lesson, Everyday Math 3.10, is a lesson about parentheses in number sentences. So if we look at this first example here, you have a sequence of numbers right here, 28 minus 6 plus 9, with two different outcomes. So I want you to tell whether each number sentence is true or false. So take a moment, think it through, and then write down what you think your correct answer is and which one you think is the false answer. All right, so now that you've had a chance to do that, I would imagine that most of you probably picked the first one, that 28 minus 6 plus 9 is equal to 31. And I would guess that you would think that because you started at the left-hand side of the problem and moved from left to right. So my next question for you is, could the second answer ever be true? And how could you make it true? So I'm going to talk a little bit about parentheses before we move to the next slide. So I know we've talked about this before in class already, but parentheses are used in a number sentence to show which operation you should do first. So whenever you see parentheses, you're going to start there, solve what's inside the parentheses, and then move on in the problem left to right. So given that, remember we had these two problems with two different outcomes. That second one, how could you come up with 13 if you had 28 minus 6 plus 9? I'm going to move to the next slide. So I'm going to ask you now to write parentheses around the part in each number sentence that was done first. So I want you to pause the video and I want you to go ahead and do that. Insert the parentheses to make each sentence true. All right, so now we're going to take a look at what happens in each of these cases when we add some parentheses. So let's look at this. One way to think about it is when we put the parentheses around 28 minus 6, what I'm going to do is just rewrite what the value of that is right below. So 28 minus 6 is equal to 22. So I can, again, moving left to right, say 22 plus 9 is equal to 31. So by inserting the parentheses around 28 minus 6, our problem is now 22 plus 9, which equals 31. I'm going to move a little bit lower in the slide and show you the next possibility. So remember when I asked that question, could it ever be true that the outcome would be 13? And here's exactly why that could be true. If I start with the 28 minus 6 plus 9 and I put the parentheses around 6 plus 9, once again, I'm just going to rewrite that 6 plus 9 because we need to do whatever's in the parentheses first. So I rewrite it as 15. And now it's 28 minus 15, which isn't 31, but in fact 13. So by inserting the parentheses around 6 plus 9, our problem is now 28 minus 15, which equals 13. All right, let's try another problem. Place the parentheses in each number sentence to make it true. So I want you to pause the video, write in your parentheses where you think they belong to make those true, and then we'll come back to it. All right, and so once again, I'm going to walk you through these steps, and hopefully this is what you got as well. Starting with the first one, if we put the parentheses around 10 and 3, and then we solve for what's inside there. So 10 minus 3 equals 7. So I'm just going to rewrite it down below. So instead of saying 10 minus 3 times 2 equals 14, now I'm looking at 7 times 2 equals 14. So by inserting the parentheses around 10 minus 3, our problem is 7 times 2, which equals 14. Look at the next one. I am going to place the parentheses around 3 times 2, and it changes the outcome of the problem. So I'm going to rewrite that 3 times 2 as 6. So by inserting the parentheses around 3 times 2, our problem is now 10 minus 6, which equals 4. Well, now that you know what to do with parentheses in a number sentence, determine whether the following number sentences are true or false. You're going to write down your answers on a separate sheet of paper. And after you've finished, I want you to raise your hand and ask me to give you the answer key so you can check your answers. You're going to write a check next to the ones you answered correctly and an X next to the ones that you missed, and then raise your hand so I can just take a peek and see how you did, give you some help if you need it. So here are your 6 problems. On these ones with the blue symbol written in there just to verify so you understand it's meant to be there. So in this case right here, the one I'm kind of hovering my mouse over, it's 36 divided by 6 in parentheses divided by 2 is less than 12. So those are greater than or less than symbols, and they are in there with a blue pen just so that you see them and make sure you don't skip over them. All right, so give this a shot. Write your answers down on a paper, and then I'll give you the answer key. So make sure you raise your hand when you're finished. All right, hopefully you did a great job on those, and I'm sure you did. In your math journal, you're going to solve 3 different kinds of problems today. So when you rotate to the group that's working on math journal pages, I'm going to give you a little preview of what to expect. So you are going to make a true sentence by filling in the missing number. So here's an example: 12 plus, and then you have in parentheses 4 divided by 4 equals, and you're going to fill in the blank. So you're going to practice it here with these 3 problems. And then the second one is make a true sentence by inserting parentheses so that the answer is given there, and then you're just going to insert the parentheses where they belong to make it true. And then the last one, if you remember, we've played Name That Number, in which you are given a certain number of cards, and then you're going to use different operations to come up with the target number. And usually the goal is to try to use as many of your cards as possible. Well, this one's a little bit different. You're only given 3 cards. Those 3 cards are 5, 5, and 20. Those are the 3 numbers you have. So you're given 3 numbers. Your target number is 3. You're going to write a true number sentence containing parentheses, and there's the difference right there. So you're going to have to create a problem that has parentheses, and that your final answer is going to equal 3. So good luck, have fun with it, and then when you're finished, you will move on. So after you watch the video, if you have extra time, I have posted a Khan Academy practice sheet on the blog. So go to the math section of the blog, you click on it, and it will be an interactive worksheet in which you're going to have problems just like the ones we've been working on about working with parentheses and number sentences, and you're going to play around with those for a few minutes until it's time to move on to the next station. All right, have fun.